Hi, it's Joan. I'm doing progress on the Korean. It's still chapter 3, Imran, and it's covering verses 187 to 200. I thought I'd start with a reading from what's called the Ants. It says, it's a clear Korean, and it lists Dr. Mustafa Khattab. Say, O Prophet, praise be to Allah, and peace be upon the servants, those who he has chosen. Ask the disbelievers, which is better, Allah or whatever gods they associate with him? This part of the Quran speaks mostly to Muslims who place their pledge. It wants to discuss rewards and what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to. I tried to imagine what it would be before I read it based on what I had seen. And I guess that you would be given faithful spouses, which is in the Cal verse 80, that you would live better than unbelief, because that's in verse 212. That if you were part of a Muslim community or ummah, you would not see bloodshed. Pretty much you would live in peace and wouldn't be evicted. Also, you shouldn't live in fear, because as long as you're doing what you're supposed to, and when you make a mistake, you're repentant. That's what's to happen. But the correct answer, when I found it online, said that God promises that you're forgiven with repentance and that you'll be victorious uh, because your cause is for God. And that's what they consider true success, instead of what the world does, which is mostly a shiny car, clothes, and impressive positions within employment. So what happens if you don't do what you should? And it lists God's laws and keeping vows. If you mess up, then there's punishment. Those verses are found in chapter 17, verse 34, and chapter 3, verse 77. It's listing that when you do your pledge, you should profess it publicly, never hide it, and God expects it to be exchanged later for something worldly. It says not to be envious of those with other philosophies, because God does rule and he lets people know. Don't expect those who rejoice in error to go unpunished. In verse 191, it says, remember him at all times, because he didn't make life for no reason or for vanity. Even in death, we're supposed to be with believers and those that are virtuous. In verse 195, it's listing for those who were persecuted for me, for their faith, fought and were killed, their sins are removed. And in verse 198, there's a part where it says, if you're righteous, you'll have gardens with rivers. I didn't really know what that meant, except that you probably have a better life. Maybe your needs would be met through food and drink. Verse 199, to never give up God's laws for something cheap, because God is swift with justice, his decisions. The last verse is 200, be patient and advocate for patience. Act united, respect God, and thrive.